What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jay Rich, back to bring you your MLB props for June the 20th. Took a couple days off, was in Toronto going to see the Jays. Unfortunately, didn't go see them yesterday when they came back down 8-3 to win 10-9. But I'm back today to talk some MLB props with you. There's a great slate today, some day games, so I wanted to get it to you early so you can take a look at the entire thing. Let's dive into it right now. Now, just so you know, I already checked the weather. Weather looks good for all the games, no real issues there. Starting off at the top of the list, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Anthony Rizzo, Riley Green, Jose Abreu, Paul Goldschmidt, Dansby Swanson, Luke Voight, and Tommy Edman. I'll tell you right off the bat, there's a couple guys I'm going to kind of eliminate as we go through it, but let's start at the top with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Vlad has not been on this list hardly at all. You know, I very rarely play Vlad. As good as he is, he's not really playing to that MVP form quite yet. But over the weekend, had a fantastic weekend, except for the game I saw him, of course. Hit a big home run yesterday to help kind of get the party started. But overall, Vlad has been playing much better. You can see 1.3 hits per game, 2.62 total bases per game, almost a run and an RBI per game, and half an extra base hit every game. Up today against Lance Lynn. Now, that's the main concern for me. While Vlad hits Lance Lynn, 273 average, so pretty solid overall, no real concerns there. Not great, but not horrible. So again, 11 at-bats is a pretty decent sample against one pitcher. His total line is 8 on PrizePicks, so not bad. You know, we love Vlad. We love his potential upside. We love what he can do. But overall, you know, this game is in Chicago, so it's not in Toronto. But again, how do you feel about Lance Lynn coming off a game where he was his first start of the season? He's coming off injury, 10 hits allowed, but only 3 runs, 1 home run. He didn't pitch his best, and he got pulled early and was pissed off about it. I don't hate it. You know, as much as I love Vlad, there is a world where Lance Lynn kind of, you know, plays a little bit better this game, doesn't allow as many hits. But I think the issue is he's up against Toronto, who's super hot right now. A lot of players playing very, very well. Oscar Hernandez, Alejandro Kirk is kind of coming off his hot streak. Then you got about Matt Chapman, who's also coming along. There's a lot of guys in this lineup that are just super devastating to go against. So I think Lance Lynn's going to have some trouble today. I love if you want to build around Vlad. I think he's got a great shot at going over, batting third with Bo and Springer ahead of him, and still has guys who can drive him in behind him. Lots of things to like with Vlad today, and I do like it overall. 16-point projection is lofty, but again, a guy who can hit a home run in his sleep. So I do love Vladimir Guerrero over 8 on PrizePicks for hitters fantasy score today. Then let's get into Anthony Rizzo, who hit 2 home runs over the weekend, one being a grand slam. So his totals are really, really high. But even over the last 14 days, 11.92, and then 14.3 over the last 7 days. Like I mentioned, he's been really, really hot right now, playing extremely well, over an RBI per game. But up against Shane McClanahan, who is damn good, right? Like, that's what it comes down to. Rizzo has never got a hit against McClanahan. McClanahan's probably should be the front runner for the Cy Young right now because of how well he's pitching. We got the Yankees and the Rays again. Is it going to be Garrett Cole? Is it going to be McClanahan? There's going to be strikeouts galore, probably 17 plus strikeouts between these two guys potentially if they're on their A game. Now, this game, I believe, is in the Trop this time. So they played in New York last time. It's in the Trop, so even more of a pitcher-friendly park. It's going to be tough. Last time these two guys faced off, I believe it was like a 1-0 game in the Trop, or when it was Kluber and Cole, it was, again, like, I think it was a 4-1 game in the end of it, but both guys didn't allow a whole lot. Cole's pitched very, very well. This will be a tight game through and through. Last time they played, like I mentioned, very tight. And so if you like Rizzo at 5.5, I don't hate it. But again, the 0 for 8 is not very encouraging. How well McClanahan's been playing, I don't love it. But if you want to ride with the form of Rizzo, it's not a bad bet overall. He's been playing so well, seeing the ball very well. But not a bet I'm necessarily trying to make today on this slate. Let's get into Riley Green, number 2 prospect in baseball, playing for the Detroit Tigers, hitting 5th or projected to hit 5th right now. Now, the one thing I do like about Green is he walked twice in his first 2 games, which is a great start to a career. Reached base 4 times in his first game ever, but again, was still 0 for yesterday, but he did have the 2 walks, so he was getting on base. Now, overall, you know, how do we feel about him? He's pretty damn good. He's up against Josh Winkowski, but for whatever reason, the source I pulled it from has his name wrong. The pitch factor is about neutral. So again, it's a fine spot for him to be in. Am I betting on Riley Green at 5.5 to go over? Not necessarily. As much as I don't think Winkowski's the best pitcher in the world, there's also a world where he pitches pretty well. You know, his first start was a little rocky, came back, and then he's had 5 shutout innings, so pretty good. They're playing in Boston, so the ballpark factor is fine. You know, it's more of a hitter's park for sure. But Detroit, I just don't trust them, man. Are they going to get on base? Are they going to perform? I like Riley Green His future outlook is insane, but it's only his third game. He's up against, a fine pitcher. Boston's bullpen is pretty trash. If you want to play it, I don't hate it overall, but I probably wouldn't go all in on Green just because there's no reason to. There's so many other guys on the slate we can take. He's a flex option, but I don't think I would be playing him, much like Rizzo. At least he's not up against an ace like Rizzo is. Green just has to go up and perform. Like I said, the 2 walks per game has been spectacular, but can't expect that to keep up overall. I probably would fade Green a little bit. Then let's get into Jose Abreu. Like I mentioned in that Toronto matchup, if you want to run him in with some Vlad lineups, that's kind of, stacking a little bit. 13.5 points over his last 7 days, which is great to see. You see over a hit per game, 2 total bases per game, 3/4 of an RBI and a run per game, half an extra base hit every game. Up against Jose Barrios. Said it before, I'll say it again. Which one are we going to get? Is he going to be the Jose Barrios who's just dominant, or is it going to be the one who allows 5 runs in 3 innings? It's hard to know what's happening with Barrios right now. Some games he's on, some games he's off. I don't mind if you want to play Abreu. He's been so good. He can get after Barrios and perform particularly well. There's no real history there between the two. He's only got 6.5 points. They're kind of giving the edge to Barrios a little bit in this matchup. He has been better. I don't know if he's been good enough to fully make that push. I would check lineups because it looks like Abreu may be getting a day off today, but overall, I don't hate the matchup and I don't mind that spot at all. Then we get into Paul Goldschmidt, the dude that has probably made this list more than anybody in all of the majors. We're starting with Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns had one really bad blow-up start recently, but overall still a phenomenal pitcher, massive strikeout upside. Paul Goldschmidt, bit of a discount, 7 points, does hit Corbin Burns pretty well, 381 average with a home run and 2 RBIs, but again, it's still Corbin Burns, and we have to keep that in mind, right? Paul Goldschmidt doesn't have the P-Val advantage at all. There's just a lot of things that we don't really love for Corbin Burns, even though we love Goldschmidt. 11 points on the season, over 11 in the last 14, and 16.86 over the last 7. Dude's just putting up a ton of points right now. But can we trust him to do it against Corbin Burns? I would be willing to. I don't think it's a bad play overall. There's not many things pointing me saying I can't take him. And then on top of this, you see Tommy Edman as well. Also hits 294 against Corbin Burns. So it's not just Paul Goldschmidt who has to do it. We need Arenado to do some things. We need Edman to do some things. And they're in a pretty decent spot to do it. So I don't hate it. I think it's a fine play, and I think there's a world where he can definitely go over. And so if you want to pair Vlad and Goldschmidt, I think it's a fine play. Vlad, Goldschmidt, Abreu. I think you're starting to build something that could be really, really good here. Then let's get into Dansby Swanson, who's been really, really hot, but I'm a little concerned about him overall. He's not the best against, he's not the best. He's not great at all against Logan Webb. 1 for 9. Not what you want to see overall if you're looking at BVP. He's not hitting the ball very hard. 6.5 total is very modest. You see, does have a bit of a P-Val advantage there. Park and pitch factor are relatively neutral. He's not hitting the ball super hard, but he's driving in runs. He's playing pretty well, batting second in the lineup behind Acuna, who is struggling right now. So we'll see what happens. I think you could flex him in if you want to. You're betting on the form. Logan Webb, if he's on, he's going to be really, really good. They are playing in Atlanta, which is good. It's better than San Francisco, obviously, and I think there is some advantage to be had there. I probably wouldn't play too much Dansby Swanson. It's just a little bit too much risk for me, and I think that 1 for 9 is really scaring me off of him overall. Then let's get into Luke Voight, who I think is interesting because he had a couple good games and he's had some real stinkers. They were in Chicago for a little bit playing the Cubs. He dominated. Then they go to Colorado. He had one good game and one so-so game. But the bigger takeaway for me is Manny Machado's hurt now. Manny Machado's not going to be playing in this game. He sprained his ankle. There's no timeline for return right now. Hopefully we get some semblance of what's going to happen from San Diego, but that's a big hole in the lineup. That's a guy who can drive in runs. And in Luke Voigt's case, a guy who can get on base for him to get RBIs, right? We love Cronenworth. We kind of rode him. Now he's all the way up at 7.5. I'm not really willing to take it. Up against Zach Davies today, who is a modest pitcher. He's not great, not terrible, but Luke Voigt is a guy who's interesting. Just, again, the fear is he going to actually get it done? Now that Machado's not going to be on base for him, it's less RBI potential. Now, they have guys there that are supremely talented, great players ahead of him. Profar's been playing well, Cronenworth playing well. But now, they're back at home. They're up against Arizona. How are they going to fare without Machado, their main leader, the guy who's been leading them all season, not in the lineup? They could struggle a little bit, especially when it comes to that RBI potential is definitely down. And then on top of that, the run potential for Cronenworth, not having Machado behind him. Again, it's not a bad bet overall, but it's important to note that Machado will not be playing because that is a major factor for these guys. We know that while they are individuals, the ability to have guys on base to drive in runs and have guys behind you to drive you in is essential to scoring fantasy points on PrizePicks. 6.5 is fine. Flex viable for sure. 502 at bats, so no real sample there. But overall, I don't hate it. And then, like I talked about before with Tommy Edman, fine player against Corbin Burns. Again, I don't love it. 294 is fine in 17 at bats, but not one you really want to see. I think what we're looking for today is Vlad, Abreu, and Goldschmidt are probably the three I would target if I was building my lineups. Mix and match those three guys. If you want to, throw in a Voight, throw in an Edman as a flex guy, I don't hate it overall, but I'd be probably playing with Vlad and Abreu in kind of a stack there. If you want to throw in Springer, Springer's another guy who did pop in the model, so he's not quite the main threshold I look for, but he should be pretty good. And so again, if you want to kind of game stack, Toronto and Chicago could be a great option. That game should definitely see some runs. Barrios has been good. Lance Lynn, second start of the season up against a hot Toronto team, probably not going to be in a great spot for him. So if you wanted to run that, I don't hate it overall. But yeah, Vlad, Abreu, and Goldschmidt would be my main targets for the day. And just remember, if you like this video, please drop me a like and subscribe for future content. Let me know down in the comments who you're playing, if there's any guys you want me to look into. Overall, I think those are the three targets: Abreu, Vlad, and Goldschmidt are the guys that I think have all the makings of overs. They have a bit of a history in case of two of them. Super hot hitters, modest totals, especially from the case of Goldschmidt, up against Corbin Burns, but it's a spot I think he can overcome it for sure. So as always, if you tail, give him hell, and if we fail, do not bail. I'll be back tomorrow dropping more MLB plays, more MLB picks. So I'll see you guys later. I'm out, and good luck tonight. Peace.